셋, 별.
Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. For today's video, I'll be talking about Wattpad and international books. I had to read from the intro, so yung pangit ng intro ko kanina. So, most of you guys may not know what I actually took a leave of absences back in 2020. Kasi nga pandemya, ang hirap mag-aral kapag pandemya. So with that, I had more time to do art, to do crochet, knitting, other hobbies, and I also got back into reading. And with that, I rediscovered Wattpad, and I was able to reread and read more new Wattpad books. So I already read Wattpad books before, like SDTG, Diary ng Pangit ng Onte, and The Bet, Afgit Molem, but not a lot. Basically, very few lang siya. And this video, its purpose is actually for me to share and to compare and contrast, share my thoughts about both international and local authors. And I want you guys to also see Wattpad as an option when it comes to buying your next book. So without further ado, let's get on with the next video, So, alam kong matagal ako nawala, so tamad ako mag-edit. Kasi meme ako mag-edit, so tamad. But throughout like 2 years, I was on break, LOA kasi ako. So I was able to rediscover Wattpad books. Kasi Wattpad, parang kasi in high school, na-instill sa amin na hindi ka cool kapag nagbasa ng Wattpad. Ewan ko, siguro sa amin lang yun. But it has this like parang ang cringy, quote-unquote cringy ang Wattpad for some people kasi. So, I understand
myself.
In general, ng mga tao na hindi pa nakapapasa ng Wattpad in a long time. But now, during the pandemic, I was able to rediscover Wattpad through my cousin, and then she taught me a lot of things about Wattpad and how we have to step away from that, like, belief na cringy ang Wattpad. So Wattpad books, cons, they can be pretty pricey actually compared to international. These two books right here, this book is already hard to find kasi tapos na ang pre-order. This is self-published. This one is published by a company. Ito naman self-published by a small publisher, and so it's hard to obtain self-published books along like game series. They're pretty pricey, of course. I think this book right here costs around 900 pesos. This one is around 799. If you were to buy them at the reseller price, it's around 1.5, 1.2, 2.5 just for the book. Wala pang inclusions yan. For of course international books like this one, VE, and this one is around 989, but it's easier to obtain. Punta na fully bookmarked to in stock. Like this one also is around 350 before. I'm not sure kung siya ngayon. But these books are easier to obtain compared to self-published books of Wattpad or published by Filipino authors. Sadly, ganun ang buhay kapag bookworm ka ng both international and local authors. Either or, you're gonna be broke at the end of the day. Is not all bookstores carry Wattpad authors, Filipino authors. Yung bookstores na available everywhere na nag-carry lang sa Wattpad authors is basically national bookstore kasi sila yung more on local, supporting local and local authors. Tsaka alam ko sila yung may partnership with Pop Fiction, Summit Media, and also Precious Pages. Kasi alam ko they also send books there. The downside of it, kasi parang you have really great authors online, but it's not cheap for you to publish your own book, sadly. It can be hard to read if you're used to English books like me. Kasi first language is actually English. So reading books in English is actually something easier on my end. And if di ka sanay, like my friend also, Ate Mau, She had a hard time reading Wattpad at first, but now mas sanay na kami parehas. So we got used to it, and now we can read books and Wattpad with ease. So parang over time naman din mo overcome mo siya. Parang at first ka lang may hirapan sa pagbasa, but now I'm used to it. I actually look for Filipino authors more than international authors these days. So puro tayo negative, di ba? Time to go to positive naman, diba? For the happy side of things like this, stories can be so much more relatable on our end. So, in España, as someone who grew up in the university, as someone who is in the university belt, alam mo yung mga places, yung mga pinupuntahan nila, alam mo yung college life sa Pilipinas, in Manila, specifically in Manila kasi. This book literally brought me back to España, and it made me like wonder, kaya ako magkakaganto. So, During in Spanish is a book that talks about Hinub series. Talks about in general is college woes, heartbreaks, heartaches, growth, and also out of serious issues as well, like single motherhood and also mental health and also politics. So I really appreciate why writing an amazing book like this. Mga books na ganito, by the way, like this one and this one, they're not easy to obtain anymore kasi nga they're only premium copy, self-print, and also they are signed by the author themselves. This one is signed by Guy, it's signed by Megan Cara. Diba? Nakita nyo, ayan. Megan Cara. This one is signed by Inksteady. Yes, nahulog yung bookmark ko. Yes, I annotate my books. Ayan, signed by Inksteady. Reading in your own language hits different talaga. Kasi, yung mga banat, yung mga jokes, parang mas nakakatawa siya. In the sense na mas tumatawa kasi nagets mo yung context. Parang example, parang language barrier or like cultural barrier when you read international books compared to Filipino books. Siyempre, we grew up here, we know the context. It's much more fun to understand kasi we know the jokes by heart talaga. It's gonna be more applicable. This is applicable in mga books written. This is applicable to books written by Luwalhati Bautista. This is a Filipino author. She is a very well-known Filipino contemporary author. She was actually almost silenced during the Marcos era. This one talked about the Marcos era, the martial law era. This book right here. I recommend for you to visit our history and to pick it up and read it. Yeah. So this, parang lessons are more applicable in our context, and may it be political lessons, life lessons, kasi they're written in a context of culture na rin. So, parang cultural wise, mas na-apply mo siya kasi we Filipinos are more on like family tradition. Kaya mo siya i-apply kasi nga, as I said, culture natin yan. So, books can openly talk about politics and life in general. Like this one. This book talked about politics, talked about domestic violence, abuse as a child, and Chasing the Sun by Inksteady in her college series. So this book just tackled it head on, straight first, and Inksteady actually writes very amazing contemporary stories that deals with a lot of like contemporary issues. So mga ganyan. So parang yung pros kasi parang sa Filipino authors, alam nila yung nangyayari sa bansa natin culturally, economically, socially. So it just also opens your eyes to our own experiences and also to about our own history, as I mentioned with this too. So parang if you read Wattpad or like Filipino authors in general, we are opened like visually and lesson wise to the realities of our country, and it's something I admire for the authors that I am reading right now, that they take it on head first. So by the way, ito Wattpad to, ito hindi. These are currently contemporary books. So here are recommendations for authors and series na written by Filipino authors or Wattpad in general. So first, of course, is we have Megan Cara. Currently, she has this one and the Primo series in publish. This one is available on Wattpad, still available on Wattpad. Pero kasi ito, yung book na to, meron siyang 7 special chapters dito na naka-include. Next one is, yung Primo series niya. This one is Lerev series 1. This is about Nico and Francine. Basically, best friends since high school classmates, tapos turned lovers, and then problems. Very light read lang siya. Pero makapal siya, but it's a light read. Epiphany naman is, so, is already in published. She'll be publishing the third book of the series soon for sa IMAC. I'm Mac Publishing House. So, and that's for Megan Cara. So this is her books in publish. So she has this one and this one currently on Wattpad. And she also writes but it's books or stories na parang written like soft med AU style na parang very short, very quick, and filled with so much kilig. Next is we have this Inksteady. Inksteady is an author that deals with so many contemporary issues. I really love her books. Her books are really heavy though. Warning. So this one is from College Series. This is College Series number 1, Chasing the Sun, and her next book, Taming the Waves, is already up for pre-order and already up for publishing as well. 3-part series, so we have Chasing the Sun, Taming the Waves, and Loving the Sky. So I need 3 books for you guys to check out. So this one is book 1, book 2 is already in publishing. I think there are still some stores who are selling their CTS. If you want to get a hold of this and read it on like sa hardbound or sa papel talaga, I recommend you should because it's a really good book. I really like this book, pero I prefer Taming the Waves more than this one. Siguro kasi another thing with like Wattpad authors, since nga you're growing with them, so your taste also grows. Parang when you read the old books, parang mas bago niya kasi mas nag-improve na yung writing style niya. And next is Alluringly. I don't have siyang published books. It's currently on Wattpad pa rin. Current series is Senior Series, which is about senior high school life. Kasi it's kind of relatable right now kasi madaming nag-senior high school sa Pilipinas. And parang talks about love, academic validation, yung mga ganong stuff na really relates to like a younger audience. I recommend you guys to check her out as well on Wattpad. And another one na wala pa akong libro is Biatch. She has a lot of books published already, but I don't have any of them yet. Kasi nga, I stopped reading Wattpad. But her currently ongoing series is actually game series na aware ako. I am currently reading the first book, Just Play the Game. And the game ba? Basta I'm currently reading the first book right now. And so far, I really like her writing style. Again, contemporary Filipino author, Filipino-based book siya. So, Philippine at Tagalog yung primary language yung ginagamit niya. So, check her out as well. Let's talk about this. This is actually X and Y's. X and Y, she writes more on adult type fiction. Not necessarily puro R18 ginagawa niya, but her focus is more on like adult problems, if tama ako ng context. I am also happy to say that her last book that was pre-ordered was Made in Baguio. I was one of the artists who did help create sceneries, visuals for her book, and I'm so excited to share with you guys what I created in that book. One of my favorite commissioned artwork to this date. So I can't show you guys, it's a surprise, but I am so excited to show you kapag lumabas ng libro. Check her out as well on Wattpad. She has a lot of books on Wattpad, and most of her books are adult-based na rin siya. So yung mga I mentioned earlier, YA pa siya, young adult pa siya. She has a book literally called Actors Hidden Horror. I haven't read it kasi I think she removed it to Wattpad. I will be reading more of her soon. And lastly, of course, I cannot forget the person who made me go back to Wattpad. Already 3 books from her. This one is her first series, which is basically Assault series. Pero nag-stop ang printing nito. I'm not sure why, but kaya. But these are her first 2 printed books, published books, and this is her ongoing series, the University series, and this is the in Spanish is book 1. In June, lalabas na ang Safe Skies Archer, the second book. This book naman yung pairing niya is Sunshine, Grumpy Trope, and yung guy is from Ateneo, Legma. The girl is an arty student. Kaya ako mas nakarelate kasi yung girl artsy, and magka-building kami ni Luna. Kaya ako naiyak kasi taga-Beato naman din ako pero wala akong college cheese Martinez. Check her out, Miss Question Luz on Wattpad. You can check her on Forum City. Ano ba yung term? You can check her out doon. and you will see more of her stories. I can't vouch for Assault series yet kasi medyo malayo-layo pa to sa babasahin ko. But I can vouch for her Univ series. Her Univ series is actually more of her stories na mas develop yung writing style niya. So I recommend you guys to check her out. Of course, eto medyo predictable pa tong book na to, but if you are to read her other books like AOTD, Kissing in the Wild, and Golden Seasons of Tomorrow, yung mga later on books niya, mas less predictable yung mangyayari, of course, kasi she already knows. Yun. So, yun. If you're like me na sabik na sa F to F, to scholar student ka sa mga universities in Manila, this book is for you. It is currently a 6-part series. Ongoing pa yung 6th book right now, which are Yesterday's Escape. Yun naman, Lasal, tapos UST yung pairings. Pinsan nung, bali ang nangyari, pinsan nung main character yung dulong book. Tama ba? O tama ako. This book made me go back into reading. So, I really do vouch for you guys to check this out. Another pang authors sa labas dyan, like si Josh Gonzalez. Maganda rin yun, sabi ng cousin ko. But I can't vouch kasi I haven't read anything from them. Yung mga na-mention ko so far is yung mga books na I always see on my TL, and also authors I always see on my TL, and authors I actually read some na of. So, yun yung mga kaya ko i-vouch as of now. So, moving on. Ngayon naman, we'll talk about international authors. International authors naman, easier to obtain physical copies or PDFs nga. You can just like, deal online. Tapos yun. Ayun na. Sa'yo na yung book. And then, parang next is, yung next prose niya is like, mas maraming variety in terms of stories, and mas saturated yung market niya. Book is contemporary, contemporary young adult. Talks about like finding yourself, finding your purpose. This one naman is actually may pagka-fantasy levels. This book talks about a girl who lives almost 300 years but no one can remember her. Ito naman, K-pop related. So parang ang daming options when it comes to international authors, which actually I find sad when it comes to Filipino authors. Kasi parang tayo kapag Filipino market, mostly love stories talaga tayo eh. Pero I appreciate yung mga authors who step out of their comfort zone and create series na parang mafia or fantasy related. Kasi mas mahirap siya gawin eh. Kasi you have to do world building. Ayun yung pros ng international authors. Parang andun yung world building. Ano na like Hunger Games, Harry Potter, Percy Jackson. Those books parang had the time to build a world, had the time to create this like environment in your head. While kasi Filipino authors, parang I don't see them doing that much, or lately as of what I've been reading, hindi nila ginagawa yun. So, parang ayun yung siguro pinaka-edge ng international authors. They create this amazing worlds that you actually end up appreciating. And this is of course, if you're like me na gusto i-broaden yung vocabulary, or you're also writing, reading books like this will also improve your vocabulary and your writing style. Like, while reading this one, I learned so many tips and tricks on how to write. Na parang may pagka-poetic yung style. Kasi this is actually like a really long prose type of story. Basically, the cons is like the pros of Wattpad. So, yung cons ng international books is parang there are context gaps. So, what for them seems funny may seem offensive to us. What may seem wholesome to us may seem weird to them. So, that's like one of like the biggest cons in international authors. Parang hindi lahat makakagets ng joke. While us, when it comes to Wattpad or into local books and authors, we immediately like get na, kaya mali yun. Kaya funny yun. For us, parang when we read international authors who make jokes na hindi natin mag-gets, parang we have to read it multiple times or even actually Google the context of it. Yan. So, relatability wise, mas of course may onting ganun na rin kasi if you're liberal, siguro nakarelate ka. But if you grow up in a household na conservative, na medyo very Filipino style upbringing mo, andun yung parang gaps of like understanding na bakit pwede sa kanila ganito, why can they do this and we can't do this. So parang we have this parang gaps of not being able to relate to them. So yun. And not gonna lie, international books can be pretty pricey as well. Kahit na madali sila obtain. 900 plus to, ito 700 plus. These days, alam ko, let's go for 600 na. So, kahit na they're easier to obtain, the prices are still very high. So, most people opt to buy counterfeit books, which I actually do understand. Pero please, I am discouraging you to buy counterfeit books kasi you are not supporting the authors. Lalo na kapag mga rising authors pa lang sila, like this one, like XCO. I recommend you guys to please, if you can, buy a copy. If you can't, I understand definitely. But if you can, support your authors kasi guys, it's, you buying them goes a long way. So, ayun lang, yung parang pinaka-ano ko for international books. Hindi naman super mahaba kasi as I said, I grew up with it. So, I know the ins and outs of it. Parang it's still like up to you if ma-appreciate talaga. Basta parang, I just appreciate the international authors have more variety when it comes to telling stories. Kasi parang yung sa moment, napapansin mo na rin, here in the Philippines, parang, the stories are kind of stagnant. They have like one plot line in general, and I hope that, and my cousin always complains about that. But currently she's reading a series na parang law related. It's parang super nakaka-confused daw, and I actually appreciate na may ganun. So I'll be checking that out soon din. So for now, recommended books ko for international authors. These are all for beginner readers. Except for one, parang most of them are gonna be easy reads for you. First off, XOXO by XCO. This book, oh my god, one day ko na ito binasa and super ganda niya. As you guys can see, the annotates of this book is all pink, very blue. So this book took me a day to read, and it's super light, super chill, and it's really great for beginner readers. Yung mga gusto pa lang ma-pick up yung life or like yung thrill of reading, bet I am a sucker for anything related to traveling kasi. And this is a girl who went to Korea for her junior year. If tama ako, junior year to eh. Went to Korea and then meets a K-pop idol and then ended up secretly dating. So, forbidden romance trope siya na may onting international spice. So, I like it. I recommend you guys to try and read it. Super duper ganda niya. PS I Love You series is a really good light read as well. This book is easy to read, easy to digest, basic lang siya. If you watch the movie, it's super different from the book. Mas nakakainis si Peter Kaminsky dito. So, read it guys. Is Paper Towns. If you were stuck in a John Green phase back before and you only read one book, which is basically The Fault in Our Stars, pick this up. This is a better read than that one. It was about Margot who went missing after a night of activities, and then it's not really a thriller book by the way. It's more of finding yourself, finding your purpose. They're all seniors kasi so parang it takes a lot of like tawag doon parang coming of age book siya. So I recommend this one, Paper Towns. Really good read. Pangit yung movie, maganda yung book. So I'm currently in the read baliktad. Yung paglagay ka ng book sleeve, diba? Kasi tinatanggal ko yung sleeve. Ayoko naman i-cover kasi ang ganda nung print. So, We've Reached Time is by Dustin Tao. Tao, a new contemporary author. It's about a girl who lost her boyfriend and like one day, she called up her boyfriend and then he answered. And that's the story. And it's just basically her saying goodbye to him or having the opportunity to say goodbye. A heavy read. I cried for 3 chapters. I haven't even finished it yet, but I'm really vouching for it. It's a really good story. If you're into angst, this is for you definitely. Next is The Invisibility Life. The Invisible Life of Ali LaRue. This one is actually not meant for beginner readers, but if you're into fantasy novels, it's actually a really good one. And if you're also a history geek, so this book goes through time, French Revolution, to World War II, to New Orleans. So, ang dami niyang kwento. It's not a easy read, but it's definitely worth a read. It took me about a month to finish it kasi may pagka-dragging siya, but it's super good. yung pagkakwento niya. Maganda yung pagkakwento. Schwab's writing is super poetic as well. Super ganda na pagka-analyze niya. It's like, the way she writes is basically her using a lot of poetic analogies. Parang saying, he took me in the night, like how the stars takes over the night sky. Parang ganun siya. Ginawa ka na sa utak ko. Parang ganun siya yung, niya, yung context niya. So, it's a really nice read. May pagka-heavy siya, but it's super good. Oh my god. And last, but certainly not the least, oh my god, this book started it all. This Anna and the French Kiss is already 7 years old. Read it 5 times and walang kupas sa akin. This book definitely made me love reading and traveling a lot more. It follows a story about a girl named Anna, and she goes to France for her senior year in high school, and she meets a lot of nice people, and she meets Etienne Sinclair, who is a thespian boy who's very good looking, very charming, and very lovable. So that is basically Anna in the French Kiss, and she goes to a boarding school in France. So basically, if you're a Europe junkie like me, you would definitely love this. One of my favorite books are, mga boarding school tropes in another country. If you're trying to find a piece of yourself in another country, and yung mga gustong tropes like this too. May pagka-cheating trope to, by the way. Emotionally. But that's not the main plot of the book. The main plot of the book is basically her trying to make use of what she has on her last year of being a high school student, and also of her making new friends. Parang, di ba, andun yung fears of like when you move somewhere new, parang you're just scared. You're just scared of like what could happen in a new place. And parang you go on a journey with Anna, like discovering the beauty of Paris. Ganun si Anna dito. And this is actually a 3-part series that can be also standalones. Pero kasi may spoiler yung Ayla. So if you're gonna read this first, skip Lola, and then go to Ayla. I don't like Lola in the Boy Next Door. I'm so sorry. Unpopular opinion, of course. This book is the best one out of the entire series. Stephanie Perkins, one of my favorite authors of all time. Check it out. Tignan nyo guys, sobrang discolored na siya. So, to conclude this video, both have cons and pros definitely. But it's up to you to weigh them. And, kasi for us Filipinos, parang may label na medyo hindi maganda yung Wattpad, cringy ang Wattpad, boring ang Wattpad, and we have to break that down. Kasi, hello, it's 2022. Parang, at this point ba, are we still gonna shame contemporary Filipino authors? Parang at this point ba, are we still gonna shame them for writing mga love stories na we all can relate to? No. It's, parang we have to support our local contemporary authors. Like, if you don't want to serve with Wattpad, I understand, but if you want to read Filipino authors, you can check out Tulhati Bautis and other books and other writers who are Filipino writers as well. I hope that you guys can also support them na, kasi our Filipino literature is not really on a crisis, but it's more of we are facing like this day and age now. We are so overly saturated with stories from other countries that we forget that we have also great stories to tell. Like, we forget na we have amazing mythologies, we forget that we have amazing culture, and parang, if you keep on looking over what's beyond the sea, wow, Moana yun! If you keep on looking what's over there, we'll forget what's available right here. I mean, it's nice to discover them once in a while, but you also have to go back and find what we have to offer to the world. Support them, and I know there are a lot of stories out there, and just find one for you. I already mentioned a few authors. Check them out, find a good story, and I hope that you do. Basta ayun yung mga na-recommend ko so far. There are a lot more authors out there for both international and local. So, yun lang naman. Have a good day. Haba pa ang biyahe. Tuloy lang ang laban. Laban lang, guys. May part talaga, yung series. Oh my god, ibang level talaga yun. Oh my god.